My laptop was a museum of my failures. Tabs for grammar quizzes, a folder of vocabulary lists, a subscription to an app that promised fluency in 3 months. All of it was proof of how hard I was trying. Yet when my new neighbor, a friendly Canadian named Ben, knocked on my door to introduce himself, I could barely string 3 words together. I just stood there, smiling like an idiot, nodding along to his cheerful chatter while my mind was screaming with sentences I couldn't get out. After he left, that familiar wave of defeat washed over me. I'd been studying English for years. Why wasn't I fluent? The next day, I went to see my old professor, a wise linguist named Dr. Evans. I basically spilled all my frustration out on her desk. "I'm doing everything right," I told her. "Why isn't it working?" "Ah," she said softly. "You're following the map, but you're lost. You're succeeding brilliantly at the wrong things." She grabbed a notepad, drew 5 boxes, and said, "You and millions of others are not fluent because you believe in these 5 lies. The first lie? You are collecting words, not using them. You have enough words to tell a compelling story right now," she countered. "Fluency isn't about the size of your warehouse. It's about the speed of your delivery truck. You filled the warehouse with words, but you never learned to drive the truck. You're hoarding language instead of using it to connect with people." That hit me hard. I had thousands of words saved, but they were just sitting there, collecting dust. The second lie she pointed out was this: you listen to understand, not to mimic. I told her how I watched English movies without subtitles. You're following the plot, but you're not stealing the music of the language. You don't pause the movie to copy the rhythm of their questions, the way their voices go up and down, or how they connect words together. You're analyzing the river from the shore instead of learning to swim in its current. I realized she was right. I was a passive listener, not an active participant. Then came the third lie, and this one really stung. You prioritize accuracy over clarity. I confessed my crippling fear of making grammatical mistakes. You're waiting for a green light that will never come. While the whole conversation just flows on without you, I was so focused on being perfect that I was choosing to be silent instead. Line number 4 was a big one. You study the language, but you don't live inside it. My study sessions had a very clear start and stop time. You treat English like a subject in school, not an environment to live in, she explained. You don't change the language on your phone to English. You don't think about your grocery list in English. You don't talk to yourself in the shower in English. It needs to be the air you breathe, not just a tool you occasionally pick up. My English learning was something I did, not something I lived. It was totally separate from the rest of my life. Finally, she revealed the 5th lie. You're learning alone. I did all my studying in my room by myself quietly. Language is a bridge between people, she said, tapping the final box on her notepad. By learning alone, you're building a bridge to nowhere. You have no one to cross it with. You get no real-time feedback, no practice adapting to another person, no shared laughter over a funny mispronounced word. You're just rehearsing a monologue for a play that requires 2 people to improvise together. I left her office with that notepad, my entire approach to learning English completely shattered, but in the best way possible. The problem wasn't my ability to learn. It was my strategy. It was all wrong. I used the words I already knew to describe my day out loud every single day. I started shadowing podcasts, listening and repeating the sentences right after the host, trying to copy their melody and rhythm. I changed my phone's language setting. I started thinking my to-do lists in English. I made an English-only music playlist. And most importantly, I found a local conversation club. I was terrified, but I went, and I spoke. The change wasn't instant, of course, but it was a complete change of direction. About 6 months later, my neighbor Ben invited me out for coffee. And we talked for an entire hour. Sure, there were some pauses. There were words I didn't know and had to describe in a different way. But for the very first time, I wasn't just a visitor in the conversation. I was living in it. They are simply the wrong signs you've been following on your journey. It's time to turn the map around. Stop collecting words and start communicating with them. Stop waiting for perfection and start embracing connection. The bridge to fluency is waiting for you, and on the other side is the confident voice you've been working so hard to find.